Hello, everybody. Merry Monday. It's Monday. The weekend is over. I'm sorry to inform you. Bearer of bad news, I know. But it's Monday, and at least we get to spend it together, right? Hey, today we're doing a map makeover of Veneria. Yeah, cool. The map is made by Amelia. Very cool map. I liked it. First, we'll probably do some little announcements. I think the temple contest has been concluded, I think. Cheryl, is that correct? I think so. Um, so that's up for vote, I believe, now, up on our Discord server. If you haven't, go check that out. Hey, King Clown, welcome, everybody. Happy Monday. Okay. Hope you all had a wonderful weekend, by the way. It all has to come to an end, right? All right, so again, map makeover of Veneria. The announcement was the temple contest is over. That has been concluded. So no more of that. Super exciting though. I think I've reviewed a couple of them. Really beautiful maps. Great pack. Go check it out. Okay, so let's do a map makeover for Veneria. I'm gonna quickly just like review what we did last time, and I think we worked on a couple areas here, but I think we started up here, and we ended up changing a lot of things. We ended up making the mountains a bit different by adding a shadow to it, and then also adding in foothills. So whenever you have mountains, you had foothills at the base, as you would expect, and a lot of forests grow at the base of mountains and at the foothills. So it's a great place to put your woods. Good job. We also took trees and added a brown shadow to it. So if I move it around, you'll see there's still a brown shadow. And that's a way of like blending your stamps without actually having to do any kind of painting. Now the world style works just fine for that because there's no real elongated shadows of any kind. So if you put a bunch of these kind of trees together, you'll notice that there's even more brown underneath them. So it's a way of blending. We also covered POIs. That's points of interest. How to make them pop out, how to make them more distinct. And one of them was we added a white shadow to create some kind of contrast. So the white makes the POI or the point of interest pop out. We also did things with the paths. We added a white shadow to the path so that it matches with the white shadow that's with the POI. So we did a couple things to make everything kind of match and look nice. Okay. And I think we also did this section down here as well, this Eblium. Yep, I think we did. And we also worked on this jungle right here and how to label it properly. So that's cool. So now we have to pick a new section to work on. I like this blue section right here. Really cool idea. I like the color scheme. It's beautiful. So we'll go ahead and just, whatever changes that we did to the last time, we're just going to apply here. So not much is going to change. I'll just go ahead and make some corrective things first, like making sure that the text is going over the banner. And of course, we always want to make sure that we blend our whatever our kind of landmass that we have. So these hills are rather dark, and there are a couple routes that you can go to make sure that your whatever your features are, like your hills or your mountains, kind of blend in with the texture. You can either find a darker texture to blend at the base of this stamp, or you can change the blend mode so it matches better. So I'll go ahead and just select all three of them, and I'll go to advanced settings. Actually, I don't need to go to advanced settings, but go to the blend modes. Blend mode normal currently. You go to luminosity, and it's going to pick up whatever texture is below it. And if it's too dark or too bright, you can change the brightness and darkness to make sure that it matches. There are other things that you can do as well. You can also change the opacity just a hair to make it match in better, because it's going to diminish some of the darker shadowing and the line work. So as long as there's nothing else behind it but texture, sometimes just dropping the opacity just a little bit causes the landscape to blend in better. But again, remember, make sure that there's nothing else behind the stamp, just the texture, okay? All right. All right, so now that I've kind of made that match in better, I also like to use hill stamps to put villages and important things on top of, because historically when you want to defend a settlement, whether it's a city, a castle, capital, whatever, you're going to use natural formations like height, like building a keep on top of a hill. Attackers have to go up the hill, giving you the advantage. Your arrows will fly farther, right? You'll have a gravity set to your advantage. So it's always nice to put some of your, let's say if you want to have like a battle, or there you have a capital and you want to make sure that it has solid defenses, then make sure to put a hill underneath it. So for instance, this capital right here, or this large kind of building right here, looks like a capital stamp. You could put a hill underneath it to make sure that it really makes it more imposing. So you can just use the same hill that's in this area. Why not, right? Because it's might as well match in with the same. I think I missed some of these right here. I'll fix those later. But you can take these stamps. I'm going to go ahead and apply it. I don't know if it's on the right blend mode. Let me switch over to luminosity, and you can hold down Alt, or let's see, which button is it? I believe it's Alt or Command key. Hold that down and use your mouse scroll wheel, and you can scroll through the different types of hills. Now, what's nice with using hills is that you want to make sure that the hill is beneath the stamp that you want to be on top of. So if this structure right here is going to be on top of this hill, the hill needs to be behind it, right? And it's nice to line things up, use the line work. So right here, this section is kind of propped up. Now there are a couple things you can do. You can use the transform tool. You can scale it up to be really large. There's all these different you can use a couple hills, copy and paste them and put them together. Just be sure that if they're like this, you have to hide this piece of line work right here. So bring it all the way up. And you can copy and paste it, and you can flip and rotate it and do the same thing over again like that, or put it over like this, and make sure that you layer them a couple times. So I'll put down a couple times here, and then I'll show you what you do after that. And always remember to be careful about stamps overlapping in your oceans. You'll notice right here, I goofed up right there. Naughty, naughty. Don't do that. I'm going to use a different hill, just a single size one. There you go, like this. And then I'm going to return the opacity to 100, and then put a stamp in front like this, and make it in front of, because what looks kind of odd is just this straight line of the settlement. This is a capital, and so it looks kind of odd. So you can break up that straight line by putting the same stamp that you use to put underneath it, you can put also in front of it. So let me push it up a couple layers and make sure that it's a layer above. And it looks like it's set to luminosity, so I'll have to change that to normal. And I can go in and do changes to it, like bring the saturation down, or bring the brightness up or down. And there's also a transform tool, which I'm going to use right now. Right here, put it in front. That one, and then another one maybe over here. And of course, always use trees as well to break up that line. And then after we finish that, we'll add a couple more. This temple right here, a hill could probably go on top of that, and a couple other things. So let's go ahead and just put some hills on top first. Okay, don't want luminosity. We'll bring them to the front. There we go. Like this. Let me bring it a little bit larger. There we go. Okay. So now you've kind of broken up some of the line work. That dark blue line that you see, that just looks so weird, right? Another thing you can do is to add trees. And I would just use the same trees that are already in that area. If there are none, then use a tree relatively that's close to it. If not, you can add trees to it. It's up to you. I'm just going to use those trees anyway. And I'll put a couple on the ends just to hide that line work. To hide that line work. I can also put one on top of a hill. Okay, oops. Put one on top. Oops, keep going up a couple layers. If you don't like that, because someone can climb the hill and maybe jump over the wall, then just put the tree further away. That's all. Okay. As I know, people will say, "Hey, wait a minute, but," like, yes, I know, definitely. And if you add in trees, make sure you put in some smaller ones, just for some variety, like this, because I like to decorate the most important positions. Like, you might ask yourself, like, how much detail do I need to add to my point of interest? That depends on the point of interest. If you really like to add a lot of details, then yeah, go for it. And do details to every single point of interest. But me, personally, the point of interest that needs the most detail are probably going to be your larger settlements, like maybe a temple, a city, a castle, a keep. When it comes to your small villages, and maybe even smaller towns, larger towns, you could maybe decorate the larger area, or maybe POIs that are more detailed. Like this one right here is a really interesting shape. It's different from all the others. Maybe you want to do something to that one, like maybe add a hill to that one, right? So how much detail just depends on how important the point of interest is to you. Now I'm also going to end up changing the paths, but I'm going to fix my mistake and get all these hills fixed as well. So I'll go ahead and change the blend modes to luminosity, and I'll also be sure to change the opacity just a bit. There we go. I might even want to bring the brightness up. There we go. All right, cool. All right. Now to pick some of the most important points of interest on the map and decorate them. And there are a couple. I think this one right here is kind of central. You see all of these buildings, all these roads lead to this central kind of little town right here. So it might be a good idea to maybe surround it in some trees, put it on top of a hill, or put some crops around it in some way. Whatever it is, it's going to make it pop out more. I kind of like the tree idea, so maybe we'll just create a couple trees, and don't make a perfect circle. Make sure there's some gaps. So we'll throw a couple in here. There we go. And now this one has a little bit more central feel to it. So because all these roads seem to lead to this place right here. So let's encase that with some trees. And then, of course, we also want to decorate this one. I think this is kind of a really nice location. So why don't we maybe give it a hill to sit upon? And we're going to choose one that doesn't have the luminosity blend mode, because if I choose one that has luminosity, it will pick up the blue behind it. So it's best to actually just not do that for those ones. The ones that are just purely in the interior on top of the landmass and not peeking over the ocean, feel free to make sure that those aren't that blend mode. Just leave it normal. And I'll also be able to change the width and maybe the height to make it taller, a little bit more width. I want to make it long enough to where that POI can go on top of it. So I'll put it maybe right here. Let me make it a little bit smaller. There we go, right there. And I'll place the POI right on top of it. There we go. Okay. And throw in a couple trees for decoration. And I'll just put some smaller ones. There we go. All right. Let's take a step out. Anybody have any questions so far about the map makeover or anything like that? Questions about maybe, do you want your own map to be done in a map makeover? Because you absolutely can. Oh, by the way, hi first time chat. Thank you. Awesome. Prof Hands. Welcome. Glad that you are here. Yeah. It's time to do some map wizardry, right? With your help, it's totally possible. All right, let's take a step back. I think I like that so far. There's only maybe one other location, I think, that might be important here. This one right here on this very short landmass, it seems to be fairly important because it seems to be between Cobrana and Celas. So maybe this one should have something important. And I think this one right here, because it's quite large. This one maybe too. So don't want to get carried away. I probably will. Let's just do this one right here first. It seems to be right on the edge there. I'm not sure what else to add. Maybe you could add a boat in there later. We'll take a look here. You know, let's just do this one right here, and then we'll call it good, and we can maybe come back later if we want. So let's put this one on top of the hill. It's got the nice shape for a hill. It's got that point in the center. So maybe a hill would look nice. So let's go ahead and scale one up. And you know, you can make it a group of hills. A really cool trick I'll show you about making POIs with on top of a hill is that if you pick one with multiple humps on it, multiple humps like this, you can throw in something else to put on the other hump. Okay? So just go ahead and copy paste, and there you have a windmill on top of this. And what it does is it kind of boosts the POI, gives it more character, right? It's not just one single icon. You've given it some character and depth, right? You can even put something on top of this hill if you wanted to. So use the hills to your advantage, okay? Now I did notice that I think it's okay if we leave the darker lines on top of the POI, because you notice how this one, it has, a lot of its line work has been slightly lightened, and this one's slightly darker. I think that's okay. I think there's that inconsistency is all right, as long as whatever the hill is, it has something on it to clarify or make it distinct from these other hills that have no settlements on it. I'm just coming up with random defenses to be lazy, okay? Get over it. All right, let's throw in some trees. Of course, I love to throw in a couple trees. Don't put any trees in front of your windmill, otherwise you'd be like, well, what's the point of this windmill here? Right? This isn't gonna work, right? That windmill is a giant, you know, hedge whacker. Just trying to get rid of the tree in front of it. Yeah, no. It might be better to put your tree maybe on top of the hill, you know? Something like maybe right there. So you can put whatever you want on the other hemp, okay? I mean, whatever you want. You can put a tree, you can put a ruin, a little house. The fantasy world style has all kinds of little tiny stamps that you can work with. So, you know, use your imagination. It could be a dead tree. You could use some stamps to create a graveyard on top of that hill. So all kinds of different things that you can come up with. So be creative and, you know, just explore a little bit. One thing you can do after this is, if you're curious about assembling points of interest, we do have a series on YouTube called How to Create Points of Interest. And we're at 2 parts now, but go check that out after this. I'll make sure to put the card in there. But it's pretty cool. It'll really help you to try to figure out how to put together points of interest, because I know it can be kind of frustrating. You're like, yeah, of course. Okay. Where are we at? Right. You know, let's go ahead and do paths. So when you're making your paths, my suggestion is to make sure that your paths are not too straight. So I like that these roads are not perfectly straight, but I would expect that at this scale, there's going to be land formations, spinny path. You would expect that there's going to be a little bit more bend and curves in the road, getting from one POI to another. So what I like to do is the same way that I do my roads, I'd like to do my rivers. So I'll pick where the POI is, where I want it to start, and I'll go in like this, and I'd like to do these nice curves like this. And what it does is it kind of creates this idea that there are obstructions in the way, and it gives a nice curve. Now, what's also nice about doing paths like in this method is that you can also now add things to put over the path for depth. So if I wanted to, I could say there's a large tree and it goes over the path. And what does that do? It kind of creates this illusion of depth, right? Layering stamps on and things on top of each other creates the illusion of depth. You're forcing the eye to see things in different layers. So it creates this nice sense of depth. What it also does is it creates nice little spaces for you to put in other formations. So if you want, you can throw in another hill right there against that curve, because why was that curve there? Because something's getting in the way. Well, why don't we put something in the way, right? So we'll go ahead and maybe put also a hill right here and let it overlap a little bit. That's fine. Make sure that your path is probably set. Oopsie, let me see. This one right here, it's set to luminosity. It's going to catch the blue beneath it. So let's change that. Switch it to normal. And I'm going to put this tree, I think, on top of the hill. Like this. Okay? So doing your paths in this kind of meandering way opens up possibilities for new kind of things, and let your map grow, because it's a process. You are not going to think about where every single hill and tree is going to be in the beginning of your map, unless you've already sketched it out on paper and you have a general idea. The map making process is one where you grow and you learn, and things are going to change, and sometimes for the better. That's the beauty of it, is that as you're building, as you're adding in your paths and adding in stamps, things come to life, new opportunities, new negative space gets created for you to fill in with more things, to give it more detail. So now that I've done that path, let's do another one. Let's go right over here. We're going to connect this one right here, and we're going to do that wavy thing again, and that will give us a chance to throw in some more stamps. So right up to it like that. Yep, that looks good. That looks good. Let's just do all of them for now, okay? So I'll go ahead and move this hill. I'm going to delete this path, and we'll do it again. This one connects to here. Let's do some loopiness. Whee, whoa, what happened? Why is this so cray-cray? There we go. All right. Now, what's also nice, I just said before, is that you can now use the negative space. And by negative space, I mean the stuff that's in between these paths. Okay, so inside of there, that creates new negative space and more possibilities for new things. Whether you want to add in small POIs that don't have labels, whether you want to create unique land formations, maybe a small ruin or a graveyard, or you want to add in a pit or a small wood, a ring of trees, a monolith, a statue, a garden, all that, all the things that you can do. You can even just use a texture to add in a texture to fill in the negative space. It doesn't have to be a stamp. You don't want to take all the time to do all that. You don't have to. So I'll show you that momentarily. Let's first finish our paths, and then from there we can move on, okay? So it looks like we want to connect these two as well. This can be not quite as windy. They're really close together. This one right here, not so bad. Okay, let's go ahead and delete that. Let's have this path go along the ridge like this. I think that kind of makes it more fun, right? And I want to mention something about where POIs are often located, because it's something that I haven't mentioned in a lot of streams, and specifically not even the how to make them, but where to place them. Just real quick, I want to mention this, that POIs or establishments or settlements are generally found near bodies of water. So it's going to be along a river, along a lake, or along the ocean. Why? Because there's a water source. Clearly with the ocean, you're not going to drink that, but it is near a food source. It is a place that has food, right? And it's a place where you can do commerce, where you can transport, where there's going to be ships, there's going to be trade, right? So waterways are kind of the highways of the medieval world. And in our fantasy world, that's exactly what they are. They are the highways in which faster travel can take place. So make sure you put lots of settlements along your lakes and along your oceans and along your rivers. Those are really important, okay? And also I want to mention that you should also have your paths, of course, your roads leading along the river, because not also do boats use the river, but they also create paths along the river to follow the river as well. Let's keep going with paths. I hope that's helpful. I know it can be confusing, like where exactly should I put my points of interest? Well, that is how you do it. Definitely near your water sources. So coastlines are going to be a particular hot spot where you're going to find a lot of commerce, a lot of people, a lot going on. Let's go ahead and loop around this way and connect there. There we go. Boop, boop. Okay. Whew. All right. Let's see, where are we at? Let's do this one. We got to do every single one of these paths. Whee! All right, delete that one. Let's give this one some curviness, all right? There we go. Okay. Oops, and I do believe it's below. Perfect. All right. Let's keep going. Let's delete this path. Time consuming. One thing I also recommend, by the way, is to not do a straight line going through all the way through something. I recommend you actually make them separate paths. This is just my personal preference, but I like to do one path that leads there and then another path that leads onto here. And the reason why I recommend that is because because sometimes it looks weird when there's a path right underneath the POI, and that can look kind of weird. And I feel more like, at least in my opinion, I like to have my POI distanced a little bit away from the path. That's just a personal preference. You can do whatever you want, and it really depends on the path, the kind of style of path that you're using, because there are a lot of different ways that you can do a path. I mean, so many ways. Let's just keep going. Let's bring it out to here a bit. Ooh, there we go. You know, I think I boo-booed that one. No, that's not gonna do. There we go. Okay. All right, much better. Okay, all right. There we go. Let's take a look. All right, so some things I want to do is I'm going to put some POIs underneath some hills, I think. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to put a hill underneath, just some random ones, because these are mountains right here. And one thing I don't see is there's not foothills, so we'll probably go in and add in some foothills. I like this cool green mountain right here. These are, looks like kind of karsts, and maybe we can make those blend in better. Make them, maybe we can have them jutting out of the mountain, make them brown as well, so that it all kind of matches to make a more unique landscape, and include maybe some of these karsts on the edge of these cliffs as well, to kind of create this sense of these columns protruding out from the cliffside. So we'll create some unique landscape by working with the palette that we already have. All right, and if you want, you can even change things like rotating it like this to make it pop out, make it look like its teeth, things like that. Okay, let's see here what other paths are left. I think this one right here, we got to fix that one, and I still don't like this one. I kind of didn't care for that one, so I'll fix that. Let's go ahead and connect these two. All right, and we'll connect up to there. All right, and the last one is right here. I think what we'll do is, instead of having two separate paths that lead up to here, I'll just connect this one right here. So you go to this town, and it leads to this one right here. Okay. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, Doggy Crimson. But now you know. But yes, absolutely, put them near bodies of water. That is absolutely essential. I think, let's see what's left. Let's do this one and this one. So let's do this one. What fun, huh? Let's lead it right up to the door and just have it go along the coastline. It's going to give it a more natural feel to it. I think this one as well is only one path. Let's get rid of that. The little path right here like that, and then let's connect that one. All right, and then the last one I think is this one, I hope. Let's go ahead and give it some curve to it, and I think I'm going to put a hill underneath that windmill, because it's going to give that windmill a way to catch more of the wind, right? And if there's any other windmills floating around, I'll probably put a hill underneath that. Let's just choose this one. I'll copy and paste it. It's always nice to put a windmill on top of a hill. And you know what other things go on well on top of a hill? Towers. Gives the tower more height, more defensible position. Okay? Think about hills. Hills are going to be your ally. They give a lot of dimension. They create great locations for points of interest. And overall, I think they just look really nice. All right. This one right here, I think I need to change, make it a little bit brighter. It's set to luminosity. Let me bring the brightness up. And I'm going to drop, there we go. This one I think is okay. It's got a POI. It's got a hill, or I'm sorry, that's not a hill, that's a tree. I'm going to put a tree on top of this, so it's okay to have the line work, I think, be that way. Now the next thing is, we did the same thing over here, is we put a little bit of white. We add a little bit of a white shadow to our POIs. Now there's quite a few here. Let's see here. Let's just do one and make sure it looks right, okay? So let's start with this one. And we're going to go to your shadow. Right now it's set to none. Go to Object. Go into the shadow option. Choose white first. Okay, you'll see right away there's a nice white glow around it. Let's bring it down a little bit more and maybe drop the opacity just a hair. Now what that white does is, again, it kind of creates this contrast. There's a white behind these dark blue lines, and that kind of makes it pop out, and it stops you from having to put a texture underneath it. So you would normally have to paint that white underneath it, but you don't have to do that. You put an object shadow, boom, done. Simple as that, right? And you can do that to every single one of your points of interest. Now the ones on top of hills might not work quite as well. You might have to change the direction of the shadow a little bit. So we'll give an example of that. So let's go with this one. One thing that's really cool is if you want this one to have the same shadow effects, you can select this one, then select this one. And if you go into the selection, it will already kind of have shadow, change it to object, and white. You know, that trick didn't work. I think there might have been a bug there. But you notice, I love doing that. Hey, voila, look at this. I just showed you nothing. What fun. Okay, so notice that there's white kind of underneath the POI. Me personally, I don't really care for that. So what you can do is select it again and take the shadow and change the offset. So if you go in here, there's an offset, a vertical, and if you go to the left, you bring the shadow up. What I'll also do is probably bring the opacity down. And now that white isn't underneath, but it is behind it. And that still causes the POI to pop out. You notice how now it really pops out in comparison to, perhaps, say, this one right here. Okay? And you can also use a black shadow to make things pop out as well. That will create contrast and make it pop out as well. So there's a lot of different options. But because we've stuck with this already a method by just making it white with the shadow here, we're going to do the same thing to every single POI for consistency. It's always nice to have some consistency when you're doing it. Let's also do this large one. We're going to go with shadow object, white, bring the opacity down, and of course, bring it up like this. Let's take a look. Looks fine to me. This one right here. I think this should also be on a hill. I've always kind of associated temples to be on top of higher locations. I mean, it's kind of to communicate like the gods or whatever. So I think that it's always nice to use a hill and to make it put temples on top of it. Of course, you don't have to do that. There are all kinds of different types of temples that you can. So there's like a water temple. So maybe that one would be underwater, but maybe it's on an underwater mountainside, right? So lots of different options. But for me personally, I like the idea of having a temple on top of a hill. So I'll be sure to do that. I'm going to transform the width so that it kind of juts out enough to reach like this. And of course, I'm probably going to throw a tree in front because there's just that flat straight line and that just looks weird. So I'll just throw in a couple trees to break that up. And don't forget to make a couple tiny ones as well. And if you wanted to, you could also extend the path to lead to the temple as well. All right, let's take a step back and see where we're at. So far, so good. Let's go ahead and save. 147 changes. I like to save sooner than that, but we're getting a lot done. Any questions that people have, feel free to ask. Bum, bum, bum. So much fun. I hope everyone had a really good weekend. Hopefully it warmed up for some of you. Hopefully it cooled down for some of you. Okay, just going to give it a moment to save. We're going to just kind of review what we might want to change next. I kind of see a couple things that I think need changing. For instance, just knowing how to make your cliffs blend in better, because your cliffs are this dark brown face against this green. And so there are a couple things you might want to do to make that blend in better. And you might even be able to use stamp shadows to do that, object shadows. So we'll try that out as well. I'm not sure what this cloud right here is. A waterfall, I assume? Yeah, that's what it looks like. A waterfall. Oh, cool. Sweet. We'll get to work on waterfalls. That's fun. I like that. Okay. So a couple options about, and I'll make sure to put white on each POI. I'm just going to go through as much as possible in this stream. So one thing you can do with cliff stamps is you can change the opacity as well to make it blend in more. Unless there's maybe a texture underneath it. I see that there's some brown there. So one thing you can do is you can just change it to luminosity to make it blend in better. That's one thing you can do. You can also change the brightness as well so that it kind of matches in a little better, and then you can go back and kind of paint in that same green texture we added right there. Let's take a look. Yep, that looks like a fantasy world texture. Whoa, it's not popping up. I think I'm gonna have to quickly save. Let me try. No, just having a quick catalog error. Sorry about that. Oh, yep, that is a bug. So I'll quickly save and then I'll refresh. Warm all weekend. Today it's raining. King Cloud. Well, I hope people are experiencing good weather because things are crazy. I'm going to quickly save this. I'm going to refresh the page to try to get that catalog back up and running. So bear with me. And we're going to be working on ways to kind of make more interesting and more unique landscape, and to make what landscape you do have kind of blend in better. So we'll go over all that. It was cold where you were at, dragons, dreams, and squirrels, but it warmed up fast. Oh, good. Good, good. I want people to have a nice summer, please. Okay, saved. Excellent. I'll go ahead and just refresh the page. All right, we're going to reload the map, and we'll go through that catalog, and we're going to repaint underneath those cliffs. And we're going to do some tricks to make those cliffs blend in. And I'll show you a couple ways about doing that. That first way was luminosity, of course. If you don't want your cliffs to have any green in them, you don't want grass growing up them or moss or whatever, you want your cliffs to be brown like earth, then we'll show you how to do that. So there's a couple ways that you can go about going with cliffs. All right, so what we did last time is we just kind of changed the luminosity blend mode, but I don't think I really care for that. I'm also going to move this cloud out of the way because it kind of is getting in the way with my ability to work with these cliffs. So there's already some green there, so I'm going to go into the catalog and just quickly paint over this. So let's just paint over this. Oopsie, that's a bit bright. Let's go with the darker one. That's better. There we go. Okay. All right. And so with these ones, we did go with that luminosity blend mode. If you want those cliffs to be more green, that's great. If you don't want that, if you would prefer them to stick with that brown, then keep them where they were at your normal like this. And you can go in with an object shadow and you can switch it over to brown. And you might want to change it to whatever light or dark brown that you want it to be. And already you'll see that there's some brown lining around those cliffs, kind of creating a little bit more blending. And you can change that as you see fit. So we can select them all again. We can create an even darker brown if we want. You can change the blend mode to where the shadows are below at the base. You can even bring the shadow down a little more. There we go. You can bring it to the side. You can shift it to create more blending that way. So moving these object shadows, the shadows of your cliffs, is a way to create blending. Okay. I'm just going to go ahead and center these all again, and I'm going to stick with that kind of a brown that I could see. For my advanced settings, let's change these settings. All right, and then let's drop. I'm going to drop the saturation on these to blend more, because what I'm noticing with these stamps is that it's very harsh brown. So if I just drop the contrast, what I'm doing is removing the harsher, darker colors of the line work. All right, and then again, you can also drop the opacity if you want to also kind of make them blend in a little bit better to catch some of that green. So it's up to you how you want to go about it. I personally think that this is just fine. We are going to end up blending. I do want these mountains and I do want these karsts to all kind of blend in together. So I'm going to first take some of these karsts and put them up against these cliffs to kind of create this illusion that there are some ridge of peaks along here. And I think that's a really kind of a fun idea. It's a way to kind of create a unique kind of landscape. And you can even put one maybe like in front of a building like this to kind of give it more depth. Add another one maybe behind it. Choose a different one like this one right here. Can be behind it. Oopsie, let's bring it up a layer. See, where are my, what are these cliffs at? 1 second here. Okay, we'll bring that down a layer. There we go. So you're creating this nice little ridge right here, and you can even rotate them as well. Maybe you don't want them to be perfectly straight. Rotate that one. Rotate this one. And of course, if you're going to put them along this ridge, you're probably going to want to create some other ridges as well that slowly get more dense the closer you get to the mountains. And the reason why I recommend that is because like we want to give some kind of explanation for how exactly these formations took place. So we'll get into that later. First, let's just start with decorating each ledge. We definitely want to put one in front of the waterfall because I think that will be very interesting. So if I put one right here and then another one, a different one of course, right here, like this, so the water is going to go down. Hey, thank you, Gwenthil. Glad that you're here. First time chatter. Awesome. Thank you so much. Hey, I'm glad that you're learning. I'm learning too, by the way. I'm learning too. So thank you very much. I appreciate that so much. So we're going to keep adding more along this waterfall. I think that's a kind of a dramatic location to really put these nice kind of, and this one right here is really nice. This cliff juts out, so it's a great place to put a stamp like that. Okay, so now we have that first ridge, and maybe we want to take all of these ridges right here. What are these called right here? I believe those are karsts. Yeah, these are karsts. Okay, let's go ahead and try to select the majority of them if I can without accidentally selecting these mountains, because I don't want those. In fact, actually selecting some of the mountains isn't a bad idea. I'll show you what we're going to do. We're going to rotate these just a little bit. So I'm just going to go one slight rotation like this. Let's rotate just a little bit less. Oopsie, it's a little too much. Let's go with that. There we go. Let's go with that one. All right, so they're nice and rotated, and it's nice to go in and for fun, sometimes you can just randomly rotate a couple of them really randomly. So you go like this, put that one this way, rotate one that way, like this. See how that up to that side right there. Take this one, let's rotate it this way. I think that looks nice. This is a nice big one right here. Let's rotate this one this way. Let's see what else. Let's rotate this one a little bit this way. There we go. Looks kind of interesting. There you go. And it gives a little bit more character to your mountain ranges, because if they're all just facing at your perfect 0 degrees, they're all going to have kind of the same peak and the same slope. But by rotating them to the left or to the right, just several degrees or a dozen degrees, you actually kind of create a little bit more unique landscape. What I'm also going to do is take this line of mountains right here, and since they're kind of the furthest away from the chain, I'm going to maybe bring the size down for them. So I'm going to select all the hills in this chain right here, and I'm going to hold down shift and bring them down just a little bit. Let's bring them down even smaller. There we go. So a smaller chain on this side. If I want, I can take these ones and maybe increase these up 1 degree, bring them up. There we go. And maybe even take some of rando ones and make them just a little bit smaller. So what we're doing is we're going to try to create this idea of kind of depth and a more natural feel by just bringing down the size, rotating a couple, creating a little bit more transition. There's this nice slope with this ridge here. Look at that. Ooh, those peaks create a nice little ridge. Really, I love that top ridge. That looks nice. Let's bring this one down a little bit more as well. There we go. So we have some nice ridges here. Let's bring this one a little bit in this way. I think that looks fine. There we go. There you go. So really nice. We've added now a lot more character. These look so much nicer. The other thing I recommend as well is, of course, to add in your foothills. So we've used these hills right over here, so I'll just select them. Hey, Jada Goat. Hey, I love that you're here. Awesome. Okay, so I'm just going to place a couple hills. One thing I'm going to do is I'm going to maybe create a circle of hills around this ruin right here. That'll give that some character. So if I create a couple hills like this, kind of creating a little frame, a little loop that goes around them. So it kind of gives it this nice feel to it. Okay, and if I wanted to, I could even put the ruin on top of the hill. So I can bring this up a layer. There we go. In fact, that hill has a peak on it that might not work, so we can use a different one. There should be a more rounded peak. We can go to hills real quick. Oh, there it is right there. These hills are a bit more rounded. Looks a little browner. So we can just change that brightness down like this to make sure that it matches. Put it right there, and now your ruin should fit right on top of that. There we go. It looks just fine. And of course, what I like to do is to throw in some very small, little tiny random hills just to give it a little bit more kind of character. Just a couple randos here and there. Those are real small ones. And then don't forget to bring in some larger ones. Did I accidentally make these too bright? I think I did. Let's bring the darkness down a little bit. There we go. Bring them nice and close, right up to it. Don't be shy. Bring them right in there. Have them just ram right up against it. Boom. Yeah, bring them in there. Oopsie. Let's bring that down a layer. My bad. There we go. Really, really allow the hill to go right into the mountain. Don't worry if it looks weird. That's okay, because what you're going to do is create more transition. Watch as I add hills along like this. Oopsie. It needs to be at the right layer. 1, I believe. So I'll add in some hills at the base like this. Put one in here, one right there. Really, and what you're going to doing is you're creating a little bit more transition between just a slope and then flat, right? Doesn't look kind of weird when you have just the slope slamming against the ground and nothing else. You would expect a little bit more action, right? Because how is it that mountains are formed? Mountains are formed in several ways, but the one that I know the most about is by plates colliding with each other in a series of subduction. And so these two plates will collide, and it kind of causes land to jut up and creates a mountain range. So if you look at like a map of Pangea, you'll notice that all those kind of pieces were a supercontinent and they broke apart, right? So if any of those parts collided into each other, those two land masses, it would push the land colliding against each other and pushing them upward, kind of creating these mountains. If someone has a better explanation of how mountains are formed in that way, feel free. I'm not an expert, have no professional or technical training in the field, so I don't want to claim that, but what little I know is pretty cool how mountains are formed. So if anyone has that information, feel free to add that. Okay, let's see here. Well, let's continue with this one down here. We'll add those hills, and you can even add green ones as well. And let's take actually all these ones and put a little bit of brown, I think, underneath. When two plates get very intimate with each other, they produce mountain ranges. Wah, a newborn mountain. Wah, wah, I'm a newborn in the world. Right? This is a real fresh mountain, baby. Fresh. Just hot off the press mountain, right there. Okay. Let's keep going. I'll step away from the mountains. Let's go ahead and make sure that these karsts right here really kind of match in the way that we want them to. So I'll select all of them if I can. Try not to select anything else. Kind of hard, but oof, we'll do what I can. Because I can't select all karsts because some of them are over there. I don't want to select all of them. So I'll try to deselect as much as I can here. Let me see. That looks about right. Okay. So a couple options you can go about doing this is you can just have them be green like this and just make sure there's a nice transition, or you can have them be a part of the mountains themselves. So let's have some fun. Let's do something different. Let's go and change the hue. What I'm looking for is kind of a brownish color. You'll have to go look for the reds. Go towards the redder Colors, let's maybe drop the saturation or maybe boost it up a little bit to get that brown. Let's see here, maybe a little bit brighter. Let's do that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take one of these and I'm going to put them on top of the mountain peaks, to give the peaks a bit more of a weird and jagged edge. So I'll put one right here on top, put one maybe up against this ledge right here. Let's take it up a layer like this. And we're going to go ahead and just place every single one of these in a location right on top and make sure they blend in to give it some really interesting shapes. So let's go ahead and boost this one up a layer. Put that on top of this one. Let's have it be a really weird angle. You're always going to want to make sure that you, yeah, mountain hats. Yeah, that's it. I love that, Jada Goat. I would never have thought of giving the mountain hats. Absolutely. Give those freaking mountain hats, okay? That's right. Hats are in season for these mountains. All right, let's keep going here. Let's add in, just keep going more and more. Let's go ahead and put that on top. Make sure the line work. The trick to this is to make sure that the line work lines up properly. So obviously you don't want to do it like that. You want to make sure the line work lines up. Burr, these are it's a frigid mountain. So what you need is to make sure that they have hats to keep their heads warm. We're not vicious to mountains here. We're very kind. We're very conscientious of our mountains here, all right? Very much so. We don't want those mountains to catch a cold. Achoo! Zoo type. Okay, add this one on top here. I think this looks okay. Now you might have to change some to make them a little bit brighter because the peaks are a bit brighter. So you can do that if you want, boost the brightness. Like this, you can even change the saturation to a little bit more gray if you want it to kind of fit in a little better. Up to you how you want to go about doing it. Lots of different ways of doing it. Let's also put some on top of the hills as well. I think that might be kind of fun. Just make sure that the line work on the top of the hill doesn't pop up. So one thing we can do is do our transform, change our height, change our width, and you can just put them right on top. So now you're also giving those nice, lovely hats to those hills. Hey, come on, man. We're polite. We're not going to just ignore the hills, right? Why do mountains get to have hats? That's just rude. We're not hill bias here, okay? We are not. Here at Inkarnate, we encourage to cap your freaking hills. You understand me? You cap those hills. You do them right now. Don't ask questions, just do it. Cap them hills. Okay, let's keep adding in more as we go here. All right, put this on top, of course. Like this. No, that one looks funky. I don't like that. Everything gets hats. Of course, absolutely. That's how it works here, okay? Let's do it. It's hat time. I like it. I like it. I like it a lot. Okay, let's keep adding some more hats here. Oh, man. Whew. Top of the morning to all ya. All right, let's keep adding in more peaks. Make sure that you also have some jutting out to the side like this, because we're going to create just some interesting landscape, something different than what we had before. It's always fun to play around with things, explore. All right, put some there. I think one might look good here. That don't look like a hat. I don't want to know what it looks like. Don't tell me. It's probably not good. Don't tell me what it is. I don't want to know. It's probably completely inappropriate and I'll like it and then... Okay, let's keep adding it in here. Let's get some more spikes. There you go. I like it. Stick them in there. All right. There we go. Yeah, giving it some more character. Awesome. I'm digging it. Don't forget to peak those hills. Put the caps on those mountains, all right? You cap them. Okay, where are we at here? Turn that off. Let's push these all up a layer. I'll put them all on top. I think that one might look nice there. Let's push it a little bit this way. There we go. Again, always make sure to line up the line work. Let's put one on top of this one. Yeah, everybody gets a hat on the Inkarnate show. Woot woot! Hats for all. Okay. It's like you're dressing up these mountains. I'm glad you didn't say it out loud. All right, let's add that. Let's keep going. And then we'll put a couple ones, like smaller ones, with some brown shadows. So I'll keep these to the side for now. And I'm going to transform them a little bit. Let's go with an object shadow. See, why am I going into blend mode? Is there a particular reason why I need to be in the blend modes? What is happening here? Do I need to be in the blend modes? There we go. We'll add some brown shadow there. Make it a little bit darker. There we go. And I might make them just a teeny bit smaller. There we go. This. And I'm going to go ahead and just place a couple along the ledge. And I might even want to change to some of them to even be green, to look like the transition is complete. Okay, yeah, we'll throw in a couple there. Yeah, stick them in there. Another one right there. Okay, keep going, keep going. Another one right there. All right, now I can go in and change the blend mode to luminosity and just make some green ones because I want to make it look like there's a transition. So I'll just throw in a couple more. Let's throw in maybe a larger one. Let me look at the ridge and see how overall looks. Okay, yeah, I think we can break this up by adding one large one. Like maybe this was a part of the mountain and the wind blew it all away. And then we'll put some smaller ones around it. Okay, like this. Smaller ones. See, it looks weird. It's just like this. But if you put a couple cars just right in front of it, like this, it kind of makes it look a little better. Let's put another one right here. And then another one right here. There we go. All right. You know what? We can even add in maybe a green shadow to this. I'm not sure. Let's try it out. Go to object, since I know how to use object shadows now. Dark green. Excuse me. Bring that down. Pardon me, by the way. How rude. There we go. Put a little bit of shadow underneath. All right, that works for me. Okay, let's take a look. Yeah, this looks okay to me. You could add in as many of these little tiny green ones as you kind of want. Maybe have a couple still lining along where the waterfall is. So let's see here. I think I have to turn the luminosity off because it's going to pick up the blue behind that, so that doesn't work. And I think I need to change the hue as well. There we go. Nice. All right. Let's keep going. Let's put another one right here maybe, and maybe a little one rotated right here. There you go. It's nice to line your rivers with maybe some trees, to line them with a sandbar, a rock bar. It depends on the scale. This is a large scale. This is kind of zoomed out, so you don't have to show like a rock bar or a sandbar, but you can if you wanted to. There's different ways. All right, so this area has been thoroughly massacred by myself, so sorry to the original creator. This is not at all what they had envisioned. Okay, where are we? 174 changes? Oh, it's definitely saved time. We've been doing this for an hour? Oh, man. Sorry you guys have been stuck with me for that long. Haha. Okay, let's see where we're going. Yeah, I figured we would only get about maybe one section done in this one because these map makeovers take some time. Seems like minutes. Amazing how time flies. Truly, truly, truly. Okay, we'll do the saving and then we'll kind of look around and look at the other POIs. I noticed that there is some roads missing to some stuff up at the corner. I accidentally rotated a POI as well, I believe, when I was rotating the mountains. Naughty me. That will happen. That will happen. I'm also going to show you some other cool tricks with your mountains real quick. So let me first go in and fix this kind of boo-boo that I made right here. Oopsie. And I got to remember where this was. I think it was over here, I think. Do I have that right? Oh, please tell me I have it right. Give me a second. Select them both and turn the rotation off. There we go. There we go. All right. I'm noticing there are no roads that kind of lead to these other locations, so I'm not so sure about that. Okay. Let's quickly do another thing with mountains. Now, for those of you who want to know a little bit more about mountains, what's really nice to add to your mountains are clouds, because mountains are so large that they shape the they create their own weather. They're so large. So putting clouds in your mountains is a great way to show weather, because mountains are so large that they create their own weather. So it makes sense to throw in some clouds. Now I'll show you a couple options. There are a couple ways that you can go about doing clouds. If you were to go into the catalog and just go in and search all styles and choose, and we're going to type in clouds, there's a whole host of different clouds. Now, the one kind of clouds I don't recommend that you use are the ones that have their own built-in shadow. It's a baked-in shadow. So if there is a cloud that has a shadow in it, like this one, I don't recommend using it personally, because those shadows will build up to each other. Now, there is some tricks that I will show you with shadows with this particular stamp, and you can use the blend mode to make the shadow go away. And there is one, and it's called lighten. Okay, so I have lighten blend mode. Now, you'll see the shadow is not there anymore, but just know that it's going to interact differently with the different colors and stuff. So just keep that in mind. Now, I personally really like these clouds. They're like one of my favorites. I like the unique shapes. It has a cartoony look to it. So it's up to you which clouds you want to use. Let's also look at the mountains and see what layer they're at. They're at layer 1. Perfect. You also want your clouds to be at layer 1, because you want some clouds to be behind a mountain, some clouds to be in front of a mountain. So you're going to use the collision boxes of these mountains to your advantage to make sure that the clouds fit right. So let's do a couple first. Let's use the cloud with the light and blend mode and just see how it looks first. If people don't like it, we can change it. So let's just make sure, I'm going to rotate it a little bit so it's flat underneath. I'm going to place one and first just see where they land as I place them. So far, it looks like they're behind them. That's okay. Let's just do a couple behind first. Couple behind this one, behind this one. That looks fine. Now let's go up a layer and put a couple in the front. Okay. Oopsie, let's rotate this one. Oopsie, I also noticed those peaks are also at the wrong layer, so I'll have to fix that as well. Let's just go ahead and push those down a layer. This one right here. It looks like it needs to go down a layer as well. There we go. Oops, I can just get rid of it in general. So you'll have to change things a little bit with these peaks when you add the clouds. So let's keep adding clouds though. Put a couple behind and a couple in front, okay? That way they'll really pop out better. Let's add one here, one right here, here, and let's bring up a couple more up at the front here. And then I like to take a couple small ones, just a little small ones, and kind of place them along the periphery of the main, where the main clouds are. Just a couple small ones like this, just to kind of break up the size so it's not all massive. And of course, we'll have to go over each one of these things and fix to make sure that we can just get rid of this one right here, I think. Don't need that one anymore. I just want to make sure some of the peaks, that the clouds are layering between the mountains and those peaks, so it gives it a little bit more depth. So now if you don't like those clouds, you can go with something more realistic. So I can go back and just select all these clouds like this. Let me see here. Are there some over here? Oh, some are used right here. Let's turn that off. There we go. Nope, don't select that. Turn that off. There we go. Okay. And what I'll do is I will actually move these over to the side down to here, and I can add them again later if I feel they look better. Let's look at the other clouds real quick just to see how they look. It's nice to maybe experiment a little bit and just see which ones kind of look the best. So you can use these ones that have no line work whatsoever. So again, go in, make sure it's a layer behind, so layer 1. Some of them are going to be behind. Oopsie. Taking a second to load here. Oopsie, they're set to random rotate. No, I don't like that. That's not good. Let me undo that real quick. Delete that cloud. There we go. Don't want them set to random rotate. There we go. Bit better. Place them now a couple behind. Why are they still rotating here? That's weird. Rotate a couple here. Undo that one. Let's put this one here. And then also, again, layer 2. Bring them up. Oopsie, bring that one back down. My mistake. Okay, this one can go up. Make them a little bit smaller. And we'll put a couple down. Let's see here. So rotate this one. Great, let's put one here. Okay, you know, I kind of like these ones a little bit better. These clouds are more interesting, these white clouds. Let's select them all and then maybe just drop the opacity down just a hair because they are very bright. So if I bring down the opacity just a little bit, I should still be able to catch some of the mountain behind it. So see how I can see some of the mountain there? That's kind of nice. So I'll drop the opacity down so that white isn't so overwhelming that it's jarring to the eye. And I can also see some of the mountain behind it as well. So that's kind of a nice touch. I'll just go ahead and delete these clouds. I don't really care for them, so we'll get rid of those. There we go. Get rid of these clouds. Nice. Don't need those puppies no more. Goodbye. Auf Wiedersehen. Okay, let's throw this cloud back over here to create the waterfall. Let's do waterfalls. So clearly there's like a big problem when you're trying to make a waterfall when there's a stamp right here. You can't just use the subtract mode to go over this unless you flatten it, which you could totally do. That's one way. If you don't want to flatten, you could use a path. You could use a stamp. So there's a couple ways to go about doing it. Let's try doing a stamp first. Which one is a bit easy? Kind of the easiest one is just throwing on a stamp. There's a lot of different waterfalls you can choose from. This one is from Watercolor, I think. And I think this style might work with it. Let's first find a thinner one. Let's rotate it like this. And we'll just put this on top, just see how it looks first. There we go. Let's scale it down a little bit more, I think. Let me push it all the way up against here. There we go. And then transform the height just a bit. There we go. Okay. All right. And then another thing I might want to consider doing is bringing the contrast down just a little bit. There we go. And then we can put this path, this right back on top of that. Okay. What is this one at right here? Is this at 5? Let's bring that down. There we go. Okay. And then we'll put this right here. Let's bring it down. It wouldn't be that big, about that size. I'm going to rotate it so it fits to where the biggest puff, the cloud, is right there. Let's bring it down one layer. And I think this one has to go up because this should be unaffected by the cloud. It should be in front of the cloud. There we go. And let's push it a little bit more this way to give it a little bit more covering the cloud. So a little bit more depth. Yeah, nice. We got some depth there. Nice, nice, nice. Okay, let's take a step back, see where we're at. 86 changes. Okay. Now, one thing I had mentioned earlier was the negative space. And the negative space, again, is going to be the space that's in between the paths. So let me quickly just show you. Again, it's this space right here, right? So there's all kinds of fun opportunities to put things inside of here to give it some more character, because you're just seeing this flat green and maybe you want some more artifacts. Maybe you want something. And so one thing you can do is use textures to do that. Now, I do believe that there is a great texture called grass, and it's in Parchment World. It's called grass. This stuff works great because it does work with world style as well, because the world style has line work in it. And so this texture works great for that. So first, I'm just going to apply it to see what it looks like. I think that looks all right. Okay, I just want to make sure the size is also right. So let me undo that. Okay, now I'm going to go in and just fill in, and I'm not going to touch the line, the paths. Just fill in the center. Now you might have to do it a couple times because you want the line work to be thick enough to where it's not just faded away with the texture behind it. So you have to go over it a couple times to really make it pop out. Okay, and you don't have to do it in every part. Just do a couple sections. Now let me step out. Now what you've done is you've created some nice artifacts and you've created some space, and now it's not just completely flat, green, empty. And you can do that with all of this, and it's appropriate to this area because it's just grass, right? This is all grassland. So go right in and just fill in all those sections with this nice grass texture. Put some dark up here, maybe some darker on this side. Do the same thing here. So I'm going to do that in between all my paths, so that way I have some extra texturing in this grassy area, because you would expect some tall grass, some short grass, some crabgrass, some really old, tall, gnarly grass, all the kind of grasses, you know what I'm saying? We're getting grassy in here. Okay, do this. Let's do a couple more here. All right, let's take a step back. Okay, yep. Yeah, that looks good so far. Let's keep doing that. I'll add in a couple more here. I think here should be appropriate. Now we might do something different here. I think this is a plateau shelf. So what might be fun is to go in and maybe throw in some brown texture. Now, when you're blending, I try to bring the opacity down quite a bit first. And I'm going to go in like this and just slightly put in this brown. I'm just going to create little sections of brown like this. And what I'm doing is I'm creating a transition between this brown texture of the mountains before it comes in contact with the cliff. And then I don't have to put in as much brown anymore the closer I get to the plateau ledge and the cliff side. So here on this side where the path is, I'm not going to add a lot of brown, but I am going to add a lot here where the mountain is. So I'm adding it in here. You'll notice that there's green just right underneath those mountains. That looks kind of weird. So do a couple strokes, folks. So you get some nice brown underneath there. And you might even want to put a little bit of brown and maybe even a darker brown because if this is a cliff right here, you're going to expect a little bit of shadow. So let's just use that same texture, go to filters under advanced settings and drop the brightness down. Okay, let's see how close it is to this brown right here. I think that's pretty good. And we're just going to create a little bit of that brown texture at the base of this. And what's nice is to put in some random little brown spots as well to create further blending. There's a little brown spot there. Okay, so now you have some nice transition between the mountain, the plateau, cliffside rocks, and onto the plain where it's a little bit more flatter down here, okay? Another thing that I recommend with your mountains is if you don't like foothills, you can always use cliffs at the base of your mountains to create a little bit more character. So I'll show you how to do that. So this particular cliff right here with this shape right here works really, really great. So let's go ahead and put this one against here. And what you're going to do is you're going to line up the line work. So I'm going to scale this one down like this. Let's rotate it a little bit. And then you have this nice little plateau ledge there as well. You can put another one right here, or you can use a different one. You could use this one and make it to where there's two of them. So you have this ledge right here like this. If you don't like that, you can bring it up somewhere else. So using cliffs at the base of your mountains is really, really helpful to really give it a little bit more character. And yes, it is a little time consuming, but it absolutely pays off, just as a heads up. So let's keep going and just using these hills, using this cliff right here. I'm going to put it behind. There we go. So there's a cliff ledge there. Let's also put in some ledges right here. I think that would look nice. Let's add that, and then get rid of, let's get rid of these hills because that just looks weird. Anyone like the random floating hills on the cliffside? Hey, Nemrod, welcome. Glad you're here. Yeah, always nice to add these cliffs. See, that adds some nice Adds a little bit more depth and character to it. There's also another trick. I call these the Maddie plateaus because they're just so much fun. I love doing this, and you don't have to do it too. It's up to you. But I like to make little plateau rocks by putting two of these cliffs together. So you have this front-facing one right here, and there should be just a line work going in the back like this. Rotate that and just connect these two lines together, and you're going to create a little... Oh yeah, I'm glad you like the misc effect. That's awesome. And you're going to connect these two to create a plateau rock. Okay? And the reason why I don't just use regular plateau rocks, I know there's a stamp there, is that those plateau rocks don't have the same art, the same line work, and the same color as the cliffs that I've put up against the mountains. So now once I've done that, I can select these two, and I can group them, and I can now place them where I want them. So if I want, I could put one maybe up against here, like this. Maybe there's a POI on top of it, like that. I can copy and paste it and do it again. And then this time, flip and rotate the two of them. And then I can have one facing another way, like this. So now I have another one. Make it a little bit bigger. Let's put it over here maybe. And in fact, I can maybe put it along, since I have a nice ridge right there, I can put in another one maybe behind, like this, or I can put it in here, like this. Let's take a look around and see where our options are. Oh, there's a couple right here. Let's put a random one right there. I'm going to copy and paste it and put another one down. In fact, I will copy and paste this one again. Copy, paste. And you can also select the both of them, and you can change the width of them like this if you want to have slight variation. Let me just go ahead and put those together. So you have a slight variation here. Put one right there. Copy, paste. Let's put another one over here maybe. That looks kind of rando. Maybe over here somewhere. I think that looks fine. Let's put a couple more. Let's remove this hill and then maybe put the cliff or the ruin on top of that. That looks fine. Let's move this POI on top of this hill. We're getting there. Let's just boost this hill size a little bit. There we go. And I can put that POI right on top of it. This is a tower. I actually think I'll put that underneath the POI because towers make sense. That's where you would put one. And then we'll put another one right here, and then we can put that POI on top of that one. There we go. Okay. Nice. A tower, as you would expect, would be on top of a hill. Okay. And of course, you're going to want to obviously blend in these. So I would just use the same texture that you just used, that darker texture, and put the darker texture at the base. Bring the size down quite a bit, and just put a nice dark ring around the base, like this. So around the base, a little bit darker around the base. There we go. Make it darker. There we go. And let's see here, darker on this one, and I think we need to put some dark underneath there as well. Then take that lighter texture and just put that right on the top. And if you want, you can bring the opacity up and just put it right on the top. So you have some nice brown, or you can leave this green if you want, or add a little bit of brown on it, up to you. We'll do this one as well. There we go. And I think this one already has. So now you have some nice plateau rocks that match with the cliffs that you put up against the base of your mountains. That's a way to kind of create canyons, a way to create plateau rocks, lots of different ways to go about doing that. So it really gives it some serious character. And it looks really cool in my opinion. I like that. Let's also touch base on rivers. I'm seeing a couple rivers here. There's a river here, a river here, and a river here. Let's go ahead and delete those by just going in with the add mode. And we're going to change those rivers to where they're a little bit more flowing in the natural, all right? So I'll just go ahead and get rid of this one. Just go with the add mode. And I'm gonna do the same thing. Well, I'll leave this one for now. We'll go with this. So we'll go with subtract, a small size. Let's just see what the right size is. I wanna use around the same scope of 2. Where are we at here? It might even have to go down to 1. Let's try that. I think 1 is right. Okay, so let's undo that. Now, the same concept with your paths is the same concept with the rivers, the meandering, the negative space that it creates, aligning trees along them, all that kind of stuff. All that stuff's really, really going to help. So let me just quickly undo these things. One moment. I'm going to go back up here, and we're going to go ahead and create that river. Where are we at for time? Yeah, we got time. Sweet. If people have any questions, feel free to ask. I'm going to go ahead and quickly add this one because I just undid it. Let's go with subtract. Now, when you're one thing you should know about rivers is where do they start, right? Well, they're going to start in the mountains in what's called headwaters. Headwaters are formed by snow melt, ice melt, snowfall, rain that collects into indentations or bowls that might be in the mountains. And then that water is going to obviously flow down those mountains, right? It's following gravity, the path of least resistance, okay? Now, once they reach the base of the mountain, they're going to start flowing out towards the ocean, okay? And you're going to want to do meandering. Now, when you do add a path, when you do make a river with the subtract mode, and you're going to make it wind into the mountains, you're going to have to be careful because there is a clipping mass below the mountain, so you might catch some of the river, you might see the mountain floating over the river. So first, let's just start by creating where the mouth is. So this is where the mouth was. I'm going to go in and just create that meandering like I did before, like this, and have it go behind this mountain. Okay, so you have that meandering there. One thing I also recommend, again, is to start putting your locations next to it. So if you have any, move this location up and put it right next to the river. Okay, so that way you have, and it's not too much, but now you have some overlapping, and you do have some negative space for you to put some things. So you have these little tiny little nodules right here. These are nice. You can use them to put a tree like this right in front. You can put a tree right here and a couple, maybe even one along here, along these nodules here. And of course, I also recommend putting some trees in front of your cliffs and plateaus. Okay, let's put one here. Let's put one on top as well. And we can put one in front of the river right here. And in front of some of, I also like to hide some of the line work of the mountains by putting trees there. And it's not far from reality because indeed, tons of forests grow at the base of mountains. Do it here too. You see there's not much, there's a lot of line work here and it just kind of looks weird. So throw in some trees to break up that line work. It's all about disruption. Break it up. All right, and of course, put a couple in front of your hills, of course, as you would expect, and a couple behind your hills. So you can put one behind the hill like that. Okay, let's put one up against this area as well, along this coast here. Okay. All right. Now let's also do some other things. Let's also play with. Let's step back and see how it looks. Yeah. Let's. Ooh, yeah, spicy. I dig it. There's Tabasco in my sauce. Tabasco sauce in my mouth. Spicy. This is good. Let's have some fun. Where are we at? 26? Yeah, we got another half hour. Who wants to goof off more? Yeah. You know, we just need to take a chicken from the fantasy battle map style and just throw it in randomly because that's just becoming a thing I like to do now. Just throwing in random chickens. Cooked chickens, by the way. You know, it's just becoming a theme now in my streams. Bagog! It's the world map chicken. All right, saving. Whee! All right. Put a chicken in every map. Of course, right? I mean, yeah. All right. Saving. Da 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 da. I'm sure some millennials know what that is, but if there's anyone else here, they might not know what that is. How many chickens have you hit on the maps? Oh, I don't know. I mean, a fistful of chickens? A bowl full of chickens? A sack full of chickens? Yeah. Wow, that took a little while to save there. My goodness. Whee! I guess we're just doing so much fun stuff. There can never be enough chickens. Never. Give me all your chickens. All of them. Yeah, I love it. Just hide a chicken on every map. Okay. You know, I want to put a path real quick. Yeah, just avoid the chicken. I see your path. I see you there. I'm going to go ahead and just create a path that leads to these POIs real quick because I kind of feel like it needs it. Like if you're going to put a POI on there, I generally recommend putting some kind of route to get to them, or change the path. Like if the original creator felt like, well, I just wanted this to be these were kind of off. There's no roads leading to them. You can totally just change the path to make it like a little foot trail or something. What is the story with chickens? Oh, Nimrod, let me catch you up, my good friend. Let me catch you up. Yeah, cosmology maps. We threw a space chicken in. Space chicken! Yeah, it was awesome. You totally missed it. It was so cool. We had it spinning in space in an orb, you know. If you don't have space chicken, something's wrong with you. I'm going to shame you into liking the space chicken. Okay, let's take a look. Oh, you know what? I didn't kind of add that grass path. Go watch cosmology maps. And I even made a chapter title, Nimrod, in YouTube called Space Chicken. So it just takes you right to it. Isn't that nice? Just boom, right there for you. I added a chapter title, Space Chicken. Ain't nothing wrong with Space Chicken, no shame. Yeah. Space Chicken. Yeah. I'll add a little bit of grass in here, just a little bit. Come on. There we go. I think did I miss a couple spots down here, I think? Yeah, let's add a little bit of grass. Oh, you definitely got to watch it. Oh, it's so cool. It is magnifique. Okay, where are we at? Oh, yeah, I missed a couple spots. Let's do a little bit on coastlines. Because I feel like there's not much going on with coastlines right now. I'm looking at it and I'm like, well, there's not much. So why don't we change up some of our coastline options? Let me take a look. Oh, of course. You didn't think I wouldn't chapter title that chicken scene? Oh, come on now. Come on now. Who do you think you're talking to? Who do you think you're talking to, huh? I would never forget such a thing. I know my duties. Okay. Okay, so, right, this is the fun part. So, one thing about coastlines is that there is no isolated coastlines for different land shapes. If you change the coastlines with your mask settings, it's going to affect every single coastline, okay? So, if you don't want them all to be the same, I recommend just turning off your auto shadow in general, or bringing it down a little bit so that if you do decide to paint your coastline, it doesn't overwhelm your texturing. So with this one, because the way that I decide whether or not to change what mask effects to use really depends on the map. So this is a world map, and you would expect a whole lot of different coastlines, from cliffs to sandy beaches to rock bars to you name it, right? So it's not probably a good idea to make every single coastline this sandy color using a mask effect, right? So if you're confused about mask effects, it all depends on the map that you're making. With a world map, you're probably going to want to stick with something simple. A simple, either a darker or lighter color that's going to be the interior or the inner shadow. For this one, we've done black or brown, and it kind of gives it at least a little bit of a bevel on the outside, so it makes the landmass pop out. So that's great. I like that mask effect. But some of you might be asking, well, how is it that I incorporate a shoreline? Like you want to show specifically a beach. Maybe you're going to do, a D-Day reenactment on your map or whatever, right? So maybe you want a beachhead. You want some kind of beachhead. Now, first, some people are going to say, well, what about scale? You'd never even see the coastline at this scale. Well, it's a map. It's a representation. If you do want to paint in a shoreline, you totally can. So let's just paint one just for fun. I'll throw it in here because I kind of feel like there should be some shorelines. Just pick the texture that you want. I'm going to pick Parchment Land 1. Make sure it's set to the FG layer, and of course you want to drop the opacity down quite a bit, okay? Now what's nice about this is it's set to FG. It won't accidentally overlap onto your BG layer, which is your water, okay? So we'll just do one stroke and just see how it looks. Maybe we want this section right here to be a beachhead, okay? Now if you're thinking about scale, this would obviously be a massive beachhead. Now we haven't been doing a lot of scale on this one, so I don't think it's a big deal. So I'm just going to throw in some lighter color here to kind of create a beachhead. Let's go all the way up. Remember, there is that darker shadow that's there. So if you just go in and just lightly along the edges here, you can go along the edge there. You can skip a couple to represent like a cliff, and then just throw in and put in some sand here. Let's say that you want a beachhead along here, so we'll just go and throw in a little beachhead on the ledge here. Let's see where else we got. This looks like there should probably be a little bit of sand here, and maybe some sand along here. So this is how you would go about going with your beach, is just add a little bit of sand. If you want more, you change the blend mode. I noticed that there's a darker shadow here, so of course you'll have to maybe use the opacity at a higher opacity, like 60 to 100%, and just pick all the spots that you want to have the beachhead, okay? One thing you can also do is once you've created that ledge, you've created that beachhead, you'll notice that there's kind of a flat line here. If you want more transition, one texturing technique that I use is dots to create transition, right? So you'll see there's a flat line here. If I do a couple dots like this, all I'm doing now is just creating some transition like this. Throw in a couple dots right here too. And what you're doing is, again, transition. You're just breaking up, disrupting the line. That's it. You're just disrupting that line. That's it. So that way you're making it kind of not so straight. We'll bring it down and go over here too. Do the same thing. I saw there's some lines here. Just go ahead like this. Now that's one blending technique, a lot of different ones. I try to avoid too much texturing, and I try to use shadows, object shadows and layer shadowing to do most of mine, but it's whichever way you want to go about doing it. So now you can see there's some nice coastlines along here with these dotted lines to really give it some character. Now you have patches of yellow looking like little patches of sand along the side here. It's a nice technique that you can use. All right, now let's continue on with the river stuff. Let's also do this one as well. We're going to finish this whole section hopefully within this clip. So I'm just going to go ahead and delete this, and I'm going to go in with the add mode. Don't forget, if you have any questions, feel free to ask. Let's go ahead and fill this one in. I'm going to leave the pond there as it is, and I want to create a more distinct mouth probably. Let's do a river delta, and I'll show you how that works, okay? Just like before, you want to, of course, make sure that you have meandering. So we'll go in and have it meander a little bit like that. So it meanders. And then we're going to create the main going out to the mouth. So I'll create some meandering that goes out to right here. Now I want the mouth to be more distinguished. So I'm going to go ahead and remove this because the mouth is going to be a bit larger. So we'll make the mouth of the river large. Let's go ahead and just let it do this. Okay, perfect. Right. So now you have a nice mouth there. Okay, we have the mouth. Now a river delta is when there's so much sediment and there's not enough force of the flow of the water to push it all out and away. And so it's going to create little sandbars, sandy rock islands, okay? So if I go like this, and then I can go in like this, and another one maybe right here like this. This is going to be your river delta, okay? And you can even create another one that goes in maybe like this, okay? This is what you call a river delta, okay? Not too complex, pretty simple. And if you want to show that you can use that same texture, that sand texture, to show that these are a sandbar. So let's just put them right on there like this, and even put some along the ledge as you would expect. There you go. And so now you have a little river delta. There you go. Nice. Really as simple as that. Let's go ahead and delete as well this little tiny path, that little tiny section right here, and round off this island a little bit more. Howdy, your majesty. Okay, there we go. Let's take a step back and see where we're at. Yep, that river delta looks fine. Cool. So we added a little bit more character to this area. You know what we also did not do was, let's finish adding those shadows to these blue POIs. So I'm going to go ahead and pick all the ones that are not on top of the hill for right now. So I'm just going to select them all by hand because I don't want to accidentally select one that I didn't mean to select. So this one, oopsie, that is a path, don't select that. This one is not on top of the hill. This one, that one's selected. Where else? This one. Those are on top of hills. Okay, so I think I have all those selected. That's proper. Okay, let me... Okay, did I accidentally select a tree? I think I did. Don't want to accidentally select the tree. Deselect you. Okay, now let's go to object. Oopsie, did I select something I didn't mean to? I bet you I accidentally selected a path, probably. Let me take a look. Oopsie. Shoot. What did I accidentally select? Because my thing's not popping up. Naughty, naughty. Come on. All right, well, all right. I selected too many at once. I got a little carried away. All right, let's just select a couple of them. Is my keyboard working? I hope so. Try this one, and this one. There we go. Whee! I love it. Okay, let's go with object shadow, of course. Go with the white. There we go. Let's bring down the size. There we go. That looks fine. So now I got some nice white. So now those are popping out. Perfect. Let's go ahead and continue adding a couple more. This one. I think this one. Let's select all these. Oh, don't want to select the path. There we go. Go to object, white. Bring the shadow down. There we go. All right. That'll really make those good. Now they pop out. That's nice. I want that. Good, good. And of course, I might want to add in just a couple. If you don't add a hill, it's nice to add in just a couple trees next to the POIs, just to put a couple in front of them. One right here. Add a couple on this side right here and here. Again, kind of use the path as your guide. All right, let's put a couple here. Now I know I said not to add them unless they're important, but it actually just helps with further transition. You can add in a lot more details with the more larger ones, but I always like to add in a couple trees to a couple of the POIs, so that way they're not kind of just going solo. There we go. Those poor POIs all by them lonesomes. That's not very nice. So, we'll make them snuggle up against these trees. Okay, let's add one here. All right. No POI should have to be alone. Okay, put one over this hill as well, of course. It's always nice to put some in front of the hills. And of course, in front of the paths is nice as well. Let's take a step back and see how that turned out. Okay, yeah, getting better. Snuggly trees. Gotta have flowers and trees. Yeah, if you want to add flowers, you totally can. It seems so tight that you might not be able to do it. Let me just go into textures. And I think in Fantasy Battle Map, there is actually a rose texture. I think this one right here, red roses. So you might be able to throw that in, but you might be constrained by the size. Oh, you know, that size looks okay. So if you wanted to, you could say you wanted like a field of roses around something. I don't know, like maybe there's a field of roses by this capital or something. So if you want, you could go like this. Just add a couple right here, a couple right here, here. Just have them all around the base. So you could say that like maybe this place is known for its roses. Let's put a couple behind as well, like this. That would look nice. There we go. All right. So you have a little bit of flowers. Yeah. And it also kind of breaks up all the crazy blue. So you have this little bit more of a warmer red color, which I really think is nice because it also works with maybe toning down some of the mountains because they're so brown and they're in that warm category. So adding those red flowers really kind of, in my mind, kind of breaks up and adds a little bit of warmth. Let's make a couple, they're a little bit smaller, a little bit bigger as well. So I'll increase the size and just put a couple rando big ones in. Gonna do the big ones. There we go. Oh, wait, did that not work? Did I go crazy? I think I lost it. I think I did. There we go. Maybe just like throw in like one or two really big ones, you know, just for fun. There we go. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Now we're talking. All right. Cool. Yeah, I like that. That gives it that warm color and gives it that little bit of detail that looks kind of nice, right? All right, where are we at? 44, 15 more minutes? Whew, wow, it took a little while just to do one section, but hey, it didn't turn out too bad. We're doing all right. We added a couple cool features in here. A plateau, some plateau rocks, some cliffs along here. Super nice. I dig all of that. It looks pretty cool to moi. All right, let's see what else we want to do here. I'm also going to throw in just a couple more of these kind of cliffs in here because I kind of like the way they look. So I'll throw them a couple more in here. Let's move this hill over here. These cliffs work just so good. So good. Okay, let me see here. Let's throw in... I kind of want to put one right here too. Right there. Okay. All right, sweet. And let's go ahead and add a little bit of the brown so that way it's not just, whoa, what happened? There we go. Bit of brown there. All right. That's right. Okay. 290 changes. Yikes. We better do the savings. Okay. Yeah, so far so good. I'm digging it. We're gonna do just a few more things. Just a few more things. I want to talk a little bit about coastlines and some things to make your coastlines more interesting. One of them is to make coastal islands, and so I'll go ahead and make those. I'm sure you've heard of like tidal islands like Mont Saint-Michel in France. It's on the, I think it's on the French Burgundy. I can't remember. It's yeah, I believe it's French, but it's called Mont Saint-Michel. It's a tidal island. A tidal island is an island that basically on low tide you could walk out to it by foot, but when the tide is up, you have to go by boat. So if you haven't heard of it, look up Mont Saint-Michel. That's just Mount Saint-Michel. Go look that up. It's super cool. I've been there, I think, once. Super cool place. Great inspiration, by the way. So we'll go ahead and save, and I'll make a couple, maybe just a few tidal islands along our coastline. And what that does is just like it kind of breaks up the complete straight line. It's really nice to break up your coastline by just adding in a couple little coastal islands. You don't have to add anything on them like a POI or trees or anything, but little tiny islands help to kind of break up the landmass. And as you would expect over time, ocean waves, the wind, the elements breaks away the lighter materials. The materials are not quite as dense, and those break away due to erosion. And then the harder materials like bedrock and other kinds of hard rock, those will last longer, and so those will stay. So we'll break up some of our coastlines with some little tiny islands, so that way it looks kind of nice. So we'll do that. First, we're going to do a 20-minute save session, I'm gonna go to the bathroom. I'm just kidding. I'm gonna make some toast. Be right back. I'm just kidding. Okay. Let's go make these little islands, all right? So obviously I don't want to make these islands where I could make a couple. Oh, it's an amazing place. Mount St. Michel is gorgeous, and I'm glad that you live close there, Nemrod. That's fantastic. I'm so jelly. I'm so jelly. Okay, so we're gonna do that one size, and I'll go in like this and just create the first part like this. Now it's a bit small with one, so let's go in with 3. Let's get a larger size. Keep going a little bit larger. Let's do this. There we go. Give it some a little bit more distance between the island. Okay, there we go. Let's put one there. Let's also go over here and see if we want to add in an island. Let's go with a smaller size and throw one right here. Break up that edge too. There we go. All right. You know what? This is a weird shape. Let's just break it off and make it an island. Instead, I see there's some straight lines here. So we'll kind of break that up a little bit as well. Let me go up here. We could probably put a small island right here. That would probably look pretty good. There we go. Let me take a step back. Now let's just see what that did by breaking up those sections. So you notice right away that it kind of gives the nice little, kind of breaks up the line of the shoreline, breaks up that shoreline, kind of gives a little small islands to make it a little bit nicer. And generally you can make more islands. So you can make what's called an archipelago. An archipelago is a chain of islands. So if I wanted to make an archipelago, I'd want to make another island right here, like this. So there's another island, and then I could go in and create another island right here if I wanted to, a smaller one, and now you have an archipelago. Okay, we can change this up to break this up a little bit more. Okay, and one thing you can do to make a series of clustered islands is to take a large cluster like this and just go crazy, just go wee. Done. Okay, and then you just go in with a larger brush and just delete the smaller islands, delete the spaces like this, and then you'll have a kind of a cluster of islands. Let me just wait 1 second. Let's delete this one. Kind of a quick way to make your island, a cluster of islands. Just make a larger one and then just go in with a smaller brush and destroy them. Destroy, utter obliteration. No longer alive, dead, destroyed, eroded. Fine, finished. All right. So it's kind of a way to make an archipelago. You don't like the shapes, you can go in and change them, of course. Maybe I want to make this a smaller, make it 2 islands. Don't like that these 2 are close together, go ahead and get this run, okay? All right. So lots of different ways to go about doing that. Let's see here, where are we at? Yeah, this looks fine. I think I'm gonna cheat a little bit and go up to this section right here and just add another kind of island here just to kind of break up my shoreline. There we go. I think that looks okay. Let me take a look. Yeah, there we go. Much better. Breaking up your land masses a little bit can be really, really helpful in my opinion. Let's go in here as well, and I'll kind of create a little island that goes in right here, and it kind of works as a place so you can also make a POI if you wanted to. You can go and do a little bit more. Great little location if you want to throw in point of interest or just make it islands. Let's see here, keep going. Let's make the mouth, let's make this a strait. If you're not familiar with what a strait is a narrow passage of water between 2 land masses, okay? And it's not with a GHT, it's STRAIT, a strait, okay? Just want to make sure you're aware of that. Straits are where boats might go between 2 land masses to do commerce, whatever. Let's take a step back and see how our little islands did. Yeah, that looks fine to me. I'm cool with that. 30 changes, mountains, looking good so far. I'm all right with it. Let's take a look. One thing we also did, it looks like, is that we added a shadow to our banner. Object shadow. Yep, we did. Let's go to this one right here. I do not believe there is an object shadow. Let's go object shadow. Let's bring it down and bring the shadow a little bit lower. Now what that shadow will do, of course, is your contrast, and that's going to make your banner pop out. Okay? Contrast is what, see how that banner just, boom, boom, it's in your face now. Get over it. This banner's in your face. Okay? So if you want your banners to pop out, just put a little object shadow on there, drop it down, and you're really going to see it begin to really pop out. And I'm going to do the same thing with this one as well. I like it with a little bit more. Little more zip pop. Okay. All right, now we're popping. Yeah, I dig. Much better. We'll go over here as well and make sure we do the same thing. Eblium. I haven't forgotten about you, Eblium. There we go. Add that shadow there. All right. Yeah. Now we're talking. Even did the same thing. See, we added in the grass here as well in the last one. Wow, you're just learning the same things in every episode. How boring. Okay, let's take a look here. Yep, I like that dark shadow there. I think that looks good. I think I'm okay with these. And we're at 12:54. Hey, you know, I think we finished this section. I think it turned out okay. Yeah, I really like it. Looks cool. Let's see here. We could probably add just a couple more trees around these hills, in front of the hills, even behind them. Oopsie. Well, not behind that one, because that's set to luminosity with an opacity problem. Naughty. Very well, then. We'll make them on top of the hill. There we go. Much better. There we go. Oh, yes. Well done. All right, then. Put that one away. Naughty. All right. All right, you saucy map. All right. Yeah, I think that looks okay. Let's see here. We do want to make sure that these are set right. So that one's there. Why is that rotated? I don't know. Let's put that next to that one. Just want to make sure that these symbols are right next to where they're supposed to be. One here. Nice and close. There we go. These look like these are meant to represent your harbors or your ports, or harbor town, port town. Let's see here. The last thing we might want to consider is making trade routes. You don't have to do this if you don't want to, but me personally, I love making trade routes. I think they're kind of fun to make. So the way you would go about doing it, me personally, I always use white and a dashed line. And I generally like to turn off the object shadow. So blur 0, opacity 0. And of course, your trading lanes are probably going to go from one port town to a next. Now you can do straight lines, but there can be weather, there can be some shallow rocks that you have to avoid. So it's up to you how you want to do your trading lane. And if you're telling a story or not, are the trading lanes practical? It's just an element that you can add to your map to give to literally to cheat and to create a little bit more in your ocean space. Because one thing, this is a common problem I see in maps, and it happens to me as well all the time, is that my oceans seem kind of bare. This happens a lot with me. I'll be like, oh man, my oceans are really bare. Well, how is it that you fix a bare ocean? What things can you add in your ocean to give it more character and to not have it be so blank? There are a couple ways about going about doing that, okay? One thing is you can create trade lanes. Now, if you prefer straight lines, you can go with segments and just click like this, and you have a straight path that goes to it, all right? We'll bring up this. But if you don't like that, you prefer a freehand, more of a freehand, you can have a little bit of a curvature like this that kind of leads to that one like this. You want to have another one that maybe goes to this one, okay? Lots of different options. One that goes to this one like this. Okay, lots of different options that you can choose from, right? You can have one that sails around this ridge and goes to this one. Let's see here. Let's look at our other port towns here. There's another one right here. You'd say you want this one to go to this port town. Like this, okay? So trade routes are a way to, you see how now I've added in some elements into the map, into the ocean, making it not as so blank. Let's add another one that kind of loops around like this. I didn't really care for that curvature, so I'll do it again. I want to push it farther away. I don't recommend that your boat stays real close to the shoreline like this, because there can be shallows, rocks, you can go aground. So generally you want to stay, your trade routes are going to be as far away really from the coastline, but not too far away, you know, because land is how you keep track of where you are, right? If you're out in the ocean, so you want to stay close to land. If you're traveling along a coastline a little further out, trying to get to a location. Let me go in here. I'm using a tablet, so it's a little bit easier to do these curves. With your mouse, it might be a little bit more difficult, just to give you a heads up, okay? Let's see here. There's a trade route here, so it might not hurt to throw in like this. Remember to avoid those islands, avoid shallow areas. You don't want your boat to go aground. That would be naughty. Don't want to do that. No. So go up this way, up to this one right here. Maybe put another one that goes up to here like this. Not something that you have to do, by the way. It's up to you. Lots of different techniques. I'll just throw them on for now, just to show you. But I think they do kind of help a little bit when breaking up, breaking that up. Now there are a couple other things that you can do with your oceans. One thing you want to do is show the darker or the deeper parts. So you just take whatever blue texture you have, and let me just apply it to the BG, just see where it's at here. Yeah, that's dark. Okay, nice. All right, so is to paint in the deep parts of your water, okay? So this is a nice little sea right here that we have. This is kind of a nice one. And so I'm going to show the deeper parts of it. Now the mask effects, the white outer shadow already kind of shows where the shallow part is. So think of operation. Don't paint in where those white shadows are. Okay, so just go in to the deeper parts, like right here, and I'll even change my opacity. I made it a little too dark, I think. We'll go in. A little too dark, still too dark. Go down even more. Naughty, naughty, what is happening here? Okay, just in here, this area right here. Let's go in even a little bit more, make it even darker right here. Okay, and a little bit darker right here. Okay. All right. Another thing that you can do to your oceans, see how you've made that a little bit darker right there? The other thing you can do is labeling your oceans. So I'm not going to give this an actual name because I didn't come up with the map, but I will show you how I label my oceans, or at least one way, because there's a lot of different options. The way that I like to do my oceans is I like to use white text, and I like to put them in the darker area. So I'll bring the size down. I'm just going to come up with a random name. So I'll just go random ocean or random sea or the rando sea. Okay. And I'm also going to go a couple spaces like this. So they're apart from each other. So it takes up more of the negative space that is the ocean. I also like to drop the opacity down. Okay. Quite a bit. Bring it down quite a bit. All right. And then sometimes you can also, depending on the shape, you can change the spacing a little bit. So if you want, you can go rando C like this. So they're tilted a little bit to the side, or you can just go straight like this. This shape right here, I think works pretty good, I think. So that right there, that looks fine. Rando C. Now you've kind of broken up that negative space a little bit by adding in labels, by adding in your paths. Another fun thing that you can do with your paths, real quick, is you can put a boat, a ship, on the path. And depending on the style that you want to use, there should be a couple different variations of ships, like this one right here. This isn't the world style. So you can just take a boat and just put it right along the path. If you don't like that angle, then put it along like this. So this will make it clear to anyone that this is indeed a trading route, a trading lane, because now you've put a boat on it. It shouldn't be too confusing. Well, what the fudge is this thing? Well, it's very clear. You just put one boat on your trade route, and it becomes very clear that that is what that's for. Okay, let's add another one just right here, going over across. Let's put it a little bit closer, like it's getting there. And I'll put it up a layer. I want it to be on top of the path. Okay. Okay. All right. So now we've added those boats. So that really kind of helps to denote, and you see it even adds in some of that negative space as well. So very, very nice, right? Okay, let's keep going here. Oh, 103. I think we're about done. Let me just take a look. Rando C, that looks fine. Yeah. Let me show you a couple more things that you can do in your ocean. Traditional maps, they have sea monsters on them. So you can, of course, throw in your sea creatures if you wish. Oops, looks like we need to clean up the chat there. Okay. Let me go with sea creature. There we go, sea serpent. There we go. All right. All right. Now you can do, there are different ways about doing your sea creatures. Because I've used white paths and white text, you can keep a continuity and go with maybe a parchment style creature. So you can go with parchment like this, and I can throw in, I think there are some sea creatures in parchment, or maybe it's in world. Oopsie, I think it's in world, my mistake. Go to the wrong pack, did you, sir? 1 second here. You can put these kind of sea creatures right here. See, it's already white, so it kind of fits into the same kind of theme. So I like to put sea creatures into the deep ocean, far away from land. So if you're going to throw in a sea creature, make sure you throw them maybe in a section where it's far away from the land. So you can put one like right here. There's an open space right here. And of course, you might want to drop the opacity just a little bit so it's not so bright, not so in your face. Okay? So other things that you can add to your ocean to give them a little bit more character. Let's just do one more thing. I'll make it last a little bit longer if people don't mind. I'm going to touch base on one more thing, and that's a compass and how to make your compass look really interesting. So about 20 more minutes, if people don't mind, I'll go ahead and do your compass. All right. So this is a cool compass. I like this one. And there's a lot of different ways that you can go about doing your compass. I like that the artist painted a little bit of light ocean color around it to make it pop out more. That's using contrast. That's smart, right? That lighter color against this darker compass. So kudos for that. That's one thing you can do. Another thing is you also want to denote where your north is. So you might want to put on a text north. Okay. Now you don't have to use the same text that you're using for the rest of it. If you want, you don't have to do that. You can go with a different text. Just make sure that it makes some sense. Maybe it has some sharp edges like this. See this one right here, modern antique. It kind of fits with the points on this compass, right? Maybe I don't want to use an N or use this color. Maybe I want to go with a color that resembles closer to the compass. So we can also do that. So I can go in, use this color, change the opacity. Oopsie, let's get it fixed again. 1 second, rotate. And then you can go to the blend modes real quick and we'll change some of those if we want. There's so many different ways to go about doing, to be doing it. So it's really kind of fun. Let's go through some blend modes to see which one looks best. Let me see this one right here, hue. You could do that one. So many different options. Really, there's so many different choices. Go with a darker brown maybe. Go back to normal. So many different ways about going about making your compass, okay? I personally like to make my own compass out of stamps, but for those of you who might be on the fly, of course, it's always nice just to use the built-in ones. I'm going to stick with white because I am doing that continuity thing, so I'll make sure to bring the opacity down. And now that we have the ability to make lines with the path tool, you might want to consider making some compass rose lines. okay? And I'll show you how to make compass rose lines. Not complex, not hard. Also, if you want, you can rotate the whole thing. If you want north, it can be like this, like this. It's up to you how you want to go about doing that, okay? And you might also want to consider making it a little bit darker behind the end. You can use a shadow for that. If you want the end to pop out more, you can totally do that. Add an object, an outline, a shadow to it, different options. Let's go up with a darker one. Make it a really dark shadow. Okay, so if you want that end to pop out, you can totally do that by adding some kind of black outline or black shadow. Now let's do with the lines, okay? So first, make sure there's no shadows on it. Let's make it at 100% for now, and we might want to change them. Let me see where it's at. Go to segment. Okay, I think that is okay for now. Okay. You're going to want to make sure that it's set to... actually, you know what? I think you don't have to worry, because we're going to end up flattening these to the BG, okay? So first step, you're going to want to zoom out a little bit first so you can kind of see the map from beginning to end. Let's see, from that side to that side. Go ahead and click, hold down Shift, then press Escape, and now you have your first line, okay? Make sure that they're lined up with the actual compass. And we'll start with the cardinal direction first. And by cardinal directions, I mean north, south, east, west. Those are your cardinal directions, okay? Copy and paste, flip, rotate. Not flip, rotate, just rotate it. And make sure you kind of line up this. And let's make sure that it goes all the way off the map to the top here. Perfect, okay? Copy and paste. We're going to do it again. Rotate. And we're going to line up this path with this one. Okay, so let's put it right here. Okay. All right, okay, let me just check and see it doesn't go all the way. So copy, paste, I'm gonna do it again, and I'm gonna connect these two. And if you're like, well, that looks weird, because it's it's going over the land masses as well, don't worry, that's why we're gonna flatten it. Okay, that's why we're gonna flatten. So don't worry, I'm on top of that. Copy and paste, we're gonna keep doing it. Do it again, do it to each of the, now we're doing beyond the cardinal directions. We're adding in the other ones as well. So I'm gonna rotate these. Okay, put one right here. All right, copy, paste, let's do it again. There we go. All right. Copy, let's take this one because it's at the right angle. Copy, paste. Put it right here. There we go. Let's also do this one as well. Copy, paste. Okay. Now, you can do as many directions as you want. If you want to have more lines, you can. You see, there are some more points to this compass. So you can add as many as you want. It's up to you, okay? You can add a whole bunch. I'm not going to do every single one of them, but there's a lot of options you can choose from. So now I'm just going to go ahead and select, turn everything off and select only paths, so I won't accidentally select anything else. Select all these paths, and then you'll see that little hamburger menu. You're going to go to flatten and flatten to the BG layer. Now what will happen is you'll notice is that it's no longer on the FG layer, it's only on the BG layer. So it won't show up. So that way it's kind of nice to have these compass rose lines that don't interact with the stamps on your landmass, so it doesn't kind of get in the way. It keeps them only on the BG layer, okay? And there's so many ways to go about doing it. Me personally, I like to take a lighter texture, and I don't like the lines actually coming in contact with, I don't actually like my lines coming in contact with my land masses. So you can clearly go in and we're going to change the brightness of this texture. And I'm going to just paint over the BG layer and try to paint over these lines right here because I just don't care for them. So I'll maybe if I can go to a little bit higher, go around this ledge here. Oopsie, go to 100%. I'm just gonna go around this whole thing right here and just completely paint out this section right here. So it's away from my landmass. Don't even want it to come into contact with my little dots there. So I'll just put it all the way around as well. There we go. That just looks weird. Nope, nope, that won't do. You screwed it up. I just don't care much for my line work being those kind of compass lines being on my land masses. So I try to hide them. At least that's the way I go about it. Let's take a look and see where else we are here. I thought I saw some stuff here. So along this island here, let's go ahead and just remove. Oopsie, I don't think that path got flattened. That would explain why it's not working. Oopsie. Let me quickly undo what I did and flatten this. I think it would be cool just to have a stamp that was just nothing but compass lines. That would be helpful instead of having to do each one by hand. So something I might want to request. Okay, I'm just going to quickly paint over this little island right here, and we're going to call it good. Sweet, we did a lot. One section is quite a bit, really. But I definitely wanted to cover ocean because I didn't want to just do the kind of same steps from the last video. Add some more in there to kind of help you guys out. While this is undoing, I'm going to make a cake because apparently I have enough time to do that. All right, let's flatten this real quick, and then I'm going to quickly mention what's coming up for the week and next week for streams, and then I will bid you adieu, a farewell. Okay, let's go back in here and kind of paint over this. I'm just going to do it like this. Normally I would do it a different way, but I'd like to just remove my line work from being next to the ripples. That or just remove the ripples. Me personally, just the way I kind of like it. I just don't like to have my lines connecting with the ripples from the compass rose. Just personal preference. Okay, let's go ahead and save it because I know that'll take the rest of the stream. Let me go ahead and check the schedule here and let you know what's coming up, folks. All right, so we just finished Map Makeover Part 2, so we'll have Part 3 next month. Then we're going to have 18th, which is a Wednesday. Hump Day we're going to burn some villages. I don't know why I'm excited about that. Did I just let out my inner pyro? Ooh. Then we're going to do political maps on the 23rd, the Monday of next week. The 25th, Wednesday, is how to create rivers. Super stoked about that one. And then, of course, how to create mountain ranges. And I already gave you a little slight demo on ranges with adjusting the size and adding the weathers and the foothills. So we'll be going into much more detail. Probably going to mention a little bit more plate tectonics in the mountains, but in the mountain stream, not too much because that could be 4 hours of explaining plate tectonics. So I'll just give you some slight brief, shall we say, the Cliff Note versions of that. So that's it for the month for streams. If you have any suggestions for future streams, please just go to our Discord and go ahead and go to stream request channel. Make sure that if you haven't signed up, to go to the #roles channel first to get your Inkarnator role, and then you can see all the channels in the server. And then go ahead and go to stream requests. It's going to be with the art and the feature requests, and just go ahead and read the rules first, follow the format, and leave a suggestion for a future stream. We have quite a few in there already, but I'm always open to suggestions. Yes, I am an evil pyro, naughty me. I'm gonna hit myself a little too hard there. Ow, I'm so fragile. Owie. Just kidding. All right, well, hey, thanks everybody. I had a great time. I'm glad that everyone could make it, and I'm looking forward to Wednesday's stream when we can catch some stuff on fire. It's going to be hot. It's going to be real hot, folks. All right, thank you so much, everyone. So much. Have a great day. I hope your week is off to a good start. And I will see you all on the hump day. All right. Please stay safe and healthy and merry map making, world builders. Auf Wiedersehen.